Hey, Letter for Life here, bringing us a brand new video. Today we have an Archetype Overhaul, something I haven't done in forever. Oh my god, it feels like... I think I've only done the one about Crystal Beast. Have I? I think that's it. I haven't done anything with this series in forever, but I was inspired by, well, the recent Abyss archetype. And I was going to make an archetype analysis of Alien in celebration of Abyss coming out, because Abyss is the first, like, really good reptile archetype. And I wanted to kind of, you know, do a thing like, oh, let's look back at the original reptile archetype. And then Aliens got new support, and it's like, oh, well, okay, let's take a look at Venom then. The second, the second reptile archetype, and the first one from the anime. Venom is a very outdated archetype. I'm just going to say that right now. This deck has never gotten more support than its original release. I'm not joking. This deck has never, ever gotten new support. This is one of the most unupdated archetypes I have ever seen. Konami has not touched this once in the past, what, like 15 years since it came out in GX? I'm probably not anywhere close to that date, but it's oh wait, no, 2007. It's close. It's close. It's like 14 years. That's a long time for a deck not to get any support. At all. At all. Nothing. Nada. Zilts. Zero. So, as you might be able to imagine, this deck is extremely bad by today's standards. It was bad back then, but it was at least playable as a fun little rogue deck. Nowadays, you can't even take it to a casual tournament. If it was like no meta, play just fun decks, this would still be one of the worst decks to pick up because it's just that bad and outdated. Konami really needs to touch this deck and give it some more support. That sounds weird because it can be taken out of context, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so let's take a look at Venom. What is Venom? Since it's so old, most of you guys probably don't even know what it is. Heck, it just dawned on me this deck's older than some people who probably play Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my god. I'm old. Venom is a reptile archetype that is focused on counters. For some reason, back then, Konami really wanted the reptiles to be focused on counters, so the first two reptile archetypes, Venom and good old Aliens, were counter-based. They also both do some interesting, well, similar things to each other, in that they both have attack manipulation based on the counters, but however, Venoms are very reliant on their field spell, in that the counters literally do nothing unless you have the field spell out. I am not joking, okay? The counters, the whole point of this archetype, don't do anything unless you have the field spell out. At all. Nothing. Nada, zilts, zero. What the hell? The deck also has a rather difficult to summon boss monster that is like your plan B compared to the slow control based idea of the deck. And I'll be honest, the idea of this deck is very interesting. I like it. The whole point of the deck is basically to get out Venom Swamp, which basically makes it to where every monster that has a Venom counter on it that's not a Venom monster loses attack based on the number of counters on it, and then it dies if it has too much poison in it, basically. So that's the idea of this deck, is to be a slow control based deck where you're slowly whittling down your opponent's monsters, and if they don't die from Venom Swamp, they get, well, destroyed by your monsters since they have weak attack, but since everything drops so much, they can hopefully punch over stronger monsters. That's a neat idea, but it was executed in such a way that this deck does nothing in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And does nothing back then. So let's look at the main focus of the archetype in Venom Swamp, the field spell. As I kind of alluded to, it does some interesting things with the counters. Basically, during each player's end phase, place one Venom counter on each face-up monster except Venom monsters. Monsters lose 500 attack for each Venom counter on them. Destroy a monster if its attack becomes 0 by this effect. So, as you can see, it does two things with the counters. Places more counters on your opponent's monsters, well, mainly your opponent's monsters. It'll do it to your monsters too if they're not Venoms. And then it drops their attack by 500 for each, and if it happens to hit 0 due to this effect, it dies. If a monster already has 0 attack, it doesn't get destroyed. So if like your opponent has, I don't know, Archetype to Chaos Phantom out, and he's got a base of 0, basically, he's not going to die from Venom Swamp. So that's the kind of caveat to that, and there's some ways to kind of wiggle around that. Has some fun interactions with like the reptilians, but however, it just isn't enough for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Waiting until the end phase to put counters on stuff is just bad. It was manageable back in the day because, well, you could actually get multiple end phases in a duel, and if you couldn't, your monsters, every single effect monster in this archetype has effects to where they put counters on monsters. And that's all they do. That is all they do. So therefore, yes, you can put more counters on stuff, it just isn't fast enough. It's not nearly enough to be able to handle modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks. In modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You activate this card, it's either going to get destroyed or negated as soon as it hits the board, and it's not going to matter. It's a shame. It just doesn't do enough in the short amount of time it's going to be on the field. So this card really isn't worth playing in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And likewise neither is Venom as a whole. Which is a shame too, because I really like this idea with what the archetype does. So let's talk about the monsters. First and foremost, we got Venom Snake, a level 3 reptile effect monster, 1200 attack, 600 defense. It's an Earth. They're all Earths except for the bosses. I think they're dark. Venom Snake. Once per turn, you can place 1 Venom counter on 1 monster your opponent controls. If you activate this effect, this card cannot attack this turn. Oh my god. So, as I said, the monsters, other than the boss monsters, all they do is place counters on monsters. Venom Snake is the worst of the bunch. Well, actually, no, Boa is, but we're going to get to him here in a minute. Snake has the okay attack for the time at 1200. That's Marauding Captain stats. Cool. And you know, the nice thing is that, yeah, you can drop your opponent's monster's attack by 500 right away, but then you can't even run it over. Your opponent's got a monster 1500 attack, you drop it to 1000 with Snake's effect. Oh, you can't attack it because Snake can't attack. What the hell, Konami? This card is garbage. Moving on. Serpent does the same thing but doesn't have the attack restriction. And it's 1000 attack and it's a dark, level 4. For having 2 heads, it's got 200 less attack. Even worse, arguably, but hey, at least it can attack the turn it does its effect. And then you got Boa. Oh boy, Boa. Level 5, 1600 attack. It can place 2 counters on 1 monster, so it can drop a monster by 1000, but it cannot attack that turn. Okay, so you have 1 monster who can attack every turn, and it's got 1000 attack. Snake? Oh, you can't attack. The Boa can't attack, and you gotta tribute summon it. It's got bad stats, has no other effect, it just puts counters on stuff. Counters that don't even do anything if you don't have the field spell out. Ugh, this deck is painful. I love its idea, and I love the card design too. Like, and that, I mean, the art design, Snake, Serpent, and Boa all look cool, but like, that's it, they just look cool. What the hell is up with this? Then let's talk about the boss monsters. The boss monsters are for the most part, the only redeeming quality of this archetype, in that you can play them in any other random reptile deck and not even be bothered, okay? So Phenomenon, the King of Poisonous Stakes, is a level 8 dark reptile effect monster, 0 attack, 0 defense. Cannot be spell summoned by another monster effect, so basically can't giant rat it out, which is annoying. This card is unaffected by Venom Swamp. This card gains 500 attack for each reptile-type monster in your graveyard. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to your graveyard, you can banish 1 other reptile monster from your graveyard, spell summon this card. Cool! It's a big, beefy boy who stays beefy until he dies, and then he comes back. Now, you'll notice he only revives himself if he's destroyed by battle. Which, that's intended, because you're intended to make your opponent want to destroy him by a card effect, so then he can get out Phenomenaga, the deity of poisonous snakes. Phenomenaga is a level 10 reptile effect monster, dark, 0 attack, 0 defense, cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned with Rise of the Snake Deity, and cannot be special summoned by other ways except by its own effect. This card gains 500 attack for each reptile monster in your graveyard. This card cannot be targeted by and is unaffected by Spell Trap and other effect monsters' effects. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can banish one other reptile monster from your graveyard, special summon this card. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, place one Hyper Venom counter on it. When 3 Hyper Venom counters are on this card, you win the duel. So Phenomenaga is like the main thing you want to go for in this deck, and it's very fun, honestly, to build a deck around her, because it's honestly a challenge, and whenever you do it, it feels really good. Because, God, she's a towers on... I was about to say a certain drug, but she's basically a towers on turbo. There we go. In that she's better than any other version of towers on face value other than summoning condition. She's literally unaffected by everything, and if she does happen to get run over by battle by, like, let's say a Borreload jacking up its attack power, she comes back. And then, oh, she's also got an instant win condition if you happen to do battle damage with her 3 times. Very powerful cards, but very hard to summon, especially in Venoms. If you're going to play a deck around these guys, you want to build a dedicated deck around Phenomenaga. You don't want to really build Venoms to play it. Moving on, how do you summon them? Well, as the card text of Phenomenaga said, Rise of the Snake Deity. It's a normal trap card. When Phenomenon, the King of Poison Snakes, is destroyed, except by battle, special summon one Phenomenaga, the Deity of Poison Snakes, from your hand or deck. It is a trap, it is annoying, you gotta wait, yada yada. Same problems as with every other trap. The easiest way to trigger this, other than hoping your opponent destroys Phenomenon, except if they know anything about this deck or Phenomenon, they'll know not to, is, well, to use Offering to the Snake Deity, which is literally Icarus attack for reptiles, except it destroys your monster instead of attributing it. So, hey, you get to destroy your reptile monster and pop 2 cards your opponent controls. 2 for 2, and you get a free beefy woman who can destroy everything and scare people. I love Phenomenaga. It's so much fun summoning her. Finally, let's talk about the only 2 decent cards in Venom other than their boss monsters, and that is Venom Shot and Snake Deity's Command. Venom Shot is a normal spell card. You can only activate this card while you control a face-up Venom monster, Phenomenaga, or Phenomenon. Send 1 reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard and place 2 counters on 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Venom's Shot is actually like a really good card. Oh my god. So for one thing, you get 2 counters on something right away just for activating it. And then it's a freaking foolish burial for the deck. Like, oh my god. This card, it's almost worth like trying to like fit a Venom monster or Phenomenaga something into like another reptile deck just to be able to play it. Because who doesn't want to play 4 Foolish Burials? Of course, you can always just play Snake Rain, which is a million times better, but hey, if Venoms ever actually get like good support, this card is amazing. You get 2 counters on a dude, and get to send a dude from your deck to your graveyard. Really good. It's any reptile. Doesn't even have to be a Venom monster, just any reptile. Very good spell card. Still good today, just needs a better archetype. Then you got Snake Deity's Command. It's a counter trap card. Activate by showing your opponent 1 Venom monster in your hand. Negate the activation and effect of an opponent's spell card and destroy it. This card is also pretty good. It's just a generic, just like countering to, well, spell cards. So, oh, hey, your opponent activates Pot of Desires, reveal. Okay, cool, negate. I wish it could negate anything, but hey, spell negation's better than nothing, and this is literally the deck's only negation output. Finally, the deck has 3 other just garbage cards. Venom Cobra. The only reason to ever consider playing this is if Venoms ever get a link, and that way you can just Rescue Bunny it out and then make the link instantly. But right now, if you're doing that, you just play Alien Shock Trooper, who is also a reptile level 4 normal monster, but has 1900 attack, so it's actually offensive and can actually go for damage. Then you got Ambush Fangs, which is basically a negate attack, but, well, you can only use it whenever a Venom monster is targeted for an attack, and you get to place a Venom counter on the monster that was attacking. Okay, cool. Not the best thing in the world. It can't be searched either if this deck ever gets a way to search out stuff. And then you got Venom Burn. Back when Konami wanted to give everything random burn support. It's so weird. Why did they do this? Select one monster with a Venom counter or counters, remove all Venom counters from that monster, and inflict 700 damage to your opponent for each Venom counter removed. This card can actually get pretty scary with its damage output. Basically, the easiest way to actually be able to do a crap ton of damage with it is to have Reptilian Naga out on the field. Reptilian Naga is, of course, a reptile level 1 who cannot be destroyed by battle, and also has 0 attack power. So therefore you just let her sit on the field, get some Venom counters, a few turns, and then you activate a couple Venom burns, burn your opponent for game. If you have 3 Venom burns and 3 counters on Reptilian Naga, that's like, what, 8,300 damage right there? Which is a lot of damage, but that takes a lot of time to build up to, and it's not good. Don't do it, please. Okay, so what are the problems with this deck? If you've played Yu-Gi-Oh! For any amount of time in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You probably already know. For one thing, the slow counter spread. You literally only have the field spell, and then 3 monsters, and a normal spell. That is it, okay? Moreover, the counters don't do enough. They literally do nothing if you do not have Venom Swamp on the field. That is my biggest thing, okay? That's the most stupid thing out there. Give them something else to do. They have no ways of special summoning more monsters. And all of the effect monsters, other than the bosses, have no effect other than just putting more counters on stuff. And they're not even quick effects. If they were quick effects, they'd be okay at best. But without having anything else they can do, it's just garbage. It's garbage. No real offense or defense is my biggest issue. This deck is supposed to be a control, slow-paced, beat-down deck, okay? That's the idea of what Konami wants you to do with it. It doesn't do that, and it's not offensive because you can't attack with half of your monsters, and then the other half have no attack power. Or you gotta... It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And then their bosses are just too difficult to summon. In standard Venom, you're not summoning Phenomenon. You're going to have even harder time to summon Venom-Naga. And the easiest way to summon Phenomenon in standard Venom decks is to either get them in the graveyard and bring them back with Limit Reverse, because then you can just switch them to defense, kill them with Limit Reverse, and then you get to activate Rise of the Snake Deity. Or you can use a card called Damage Equals Reptile, where, oh hey, you take some battle damage, special summon Phenomenon from deck, it's then you get them out on the field right away. But, however, that's slow. Those are both trap cards. It's too hard to get him out on the field, and it's even harder to get Phenomenaga on the field. This deck needs more ways of doing that. So, how do I recommend fixing it? So, for one thing, almost everything needs to be thrown out or just built on extensively, okay? If Konami ever does give this deck new support, it needs a full wave of support. I'm talking 10 plus cards, because almost nothing from the original wave is usable in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! To an extent, there are some cards like Venom Shot, Phenomenon, Phenomenaga, Offering to the Snake Deity, and of course Rise of the Snake Deity, but however, that's even if they want to continue with the Phenomenon, Phenomenaga line. If you take that out, you only have Venom Shot, and you have, oh god, what was it, Offering to the Snake Deity. Those are the only 2 really good generic cards in the archetype. The rest of the good cards, quote, are for the boss monster stuff. So, yeah, the deck really needs just a complete and total overhaul. First and foremost, it needs a new field spell. I'm talking, my main idea with, like, a new field spell for Venoms is, I would call it, Deadly Venom Swamp or something like that. I guess they couldn't put Deadly. Extremely Poisonous Venom Swamp. I don't know. Venom Super Swamp. There we go. I just can't think. I keep thinking of Shrek every time I say swamp, darn it. Curse you, Shrek! So anyways, I would make it so that this new Venom Swamp spreads counters on summon. Every time a monster is summoned that's not a Venom monster, it gets a counter. And then monsters with the counters have their effects negated. I'd also keep the aspect of, oh hey, it loses attack and it gets destroyed if it hits 0. The main idea with this is that it's building on the idea of poison. The Venoms are supposed to be about poisoning your opponent's monsters. And that's a cool idea. And then you got Venominaga, who's poisoning your opponent themselves with her instant win condition, but that's a whole other thing. The main thing is you're trying to poison your opponent's monsters. It's kind of hard to do that when they don't even stay on the field long enough to be able to actually get poisoned. So, the idea is that the instant they hit the field, the instant they enter the swamp of the swamp creature, of the scary, mean ogre, I can't get struck out of my face. Head. Ah! The instant they hit that swamp, they are getting poisoned. The instant. That way, so then they instantly have some disruption. And I would make it so that, in order to balance it out, make it so that the effect negation only applies while you have a Venom monster on the field. Because you don't want this to be a blanket, oh hey, Mystic Mine. My god, could you imagine that? Oh hey, just literally every time a monster summon it instantly gets its effects negated. I'd also make it so it starts a chain so that like your opponent can try and chain like on summon effects and stuff. That way so it's not overly broken. As for the monsters, we need an entire new monster lineup. And I really want them to play around with the counters, okay? For one thing, quick effect to place counters. Why is that not a thing? Okay, on summon effect, put a counter on. Opponent's turn, put another counter on. Instant drop of 1,000 attack power. Cool, I like that. Let's keep that up. Do that. But I also want them to play around with counters. Maybe make it so that some monsters have an effect where they can remove a couple counters to spell summon themselves from the hand. Or remove a couple counters to spell summon a dude from the graveyard, from deck, from hand, from banished, anywhere. Or heck, even remove a couple counters to destroy a monster on the field. Or remove a couple counters to destroy a back row. Pick a card out of the hand. Something like that. Search. Anything. Anything to mess around with the counters. Give them more effects other than just relying on the field spell while they're out. And I would also like them to tinker around with more and easy ways to summon the bosses. You know, maybe make a card called like Calling of the Snake King or something like that. You know, like make it a continuous spell card or a normal spell card, and you tribute a dude to summon out. Oh wait, yeah, make it a continuous spell card. Calling of the Snake King. Okay, tribute a reptile when you activate it. Spell summon Phenomenon from hand or deck. Okay, and then if Calling is destroyed, you destroy Phenomenon. And then when that happens, you spell summon Phenomenaga from your hand or deck like you would off of Rise of the Snake Deity. Or, better yet, if they really wanted to keep the 2-card combo, or I guess 3-card because you need Phenomenon, you can make a new version of Rise of the Snake Deity that is a quick play spell card, so that then the instant he dies on your turn, you don't have to worry about setting a trap card for a turn, hoping it doesn't get destroyed, or hoping that Phenomenon gets destroyed first. There's ways that they can do it better. The deck also is in dire need of searching, and destruction, and negation, and just general utility effects. The fact that it doesn't have anything other than Snake Deity's Command, which I forgot was another decent card, and the fact they don't have anything other than that is just really, really sad. I mean, even other archetypes from back then have more than that. So, my final thoughts. Venom, I hate to say it, is one of the worst complete decks out there. I define a complete deck as anything with more than 10 cards. And actually, wait, does this deck 3, 5, 7? Yeah, it has more than 10 cards. It's the worst. It's one of the worst complete decks out there. Okay, there are decks worse than them, but they all I can hardly call them decks when there are only 3 cards, like Mouse Forest. Or that, oh, what was it called again? That Reptile Rock deck from Zexal that was rank 3. Had the really good rank 3. I can't remember. But this is one of the worst complete decks out there. I'd argue this is worse than Ice Barrier's pre-structure deck. Okay? The deck was just bad when it came out. It got worse over time. And Konami has completely and totally neglected it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's not a fan favorite archetype. Maybe it's because even Konami forgot about it. But I don't really get it. This deck really needs a full wave of support to be good and be fleshed out, okay? 10 plus cards, full wave. If Thunder Dragons can get it, I don't see why Venom can't. And it just feels so funny that the bosses are better in other Reptile decks. So that's my thoughts on Venom. I want to like this deck, okay? I love Phenomenaga, the deity of poisonous snakes. I remember when I first pulled her, like, forever ago, out of Rael Mega Pack. I read it, and I'm like, oh my god, this card is scary. This thing has to be like one of the best cards in the game. She's not. A lot of people don't even know she exists. But, however, the deck as a whole is just so disappointing. Like, it has a really cool aesthetic in the anime, and I love the idea of it, too. These just slowly whittling down your opponent's monsters, making them weaker from the poison, and slowly draining the life out of them as you drain their attack to 0. That is brutal, and I love it. But it's just so poorly executed, and I don't even think it's really that. It's just more so that it hasn't been updated ever. You know, imagine if like Elemental Heroes never got anything more than their first wave of support. It'd be one of the worst archetypes in the game. But however, this is in even worse of a spot. Like, at least heroes with their first few waves of support would be okay at best, as it's just a fun little side deck or something. They'd have a lot of other stuff they can rely on, like the plethora of normal support and fusion support, but this deck doesn't have anything. I mean, sure, it's got Snake Rain, and now it's got the Abyss stuff to help it out, but I've tried, guys. This deck does not really benefit a lot from the Abyss. It's a lot better to just throw in Phenomenon and Phenomenaga and like Offering and Rise and try and hope that you can maybe summon Phenomenaga off of that. But it's so disappointing. It really is. This deck has a lot of potential, I feel, and it's got a really cool gimmick and theme. We'll just have to wait and see if Konami does do anything with it eventually. What are your guys' thoughts down below? Do you like the style of how I did the Overhaul this time? I don't even remember how I did it with the Crystal Beast one. It's been so long. And let me just say, I am really sorry about the lack of uploads, guys. I have been in a bit of a rut for the past while. It's hard to describe, and I don't want to get super into it. Maybe I'll make a video on it one of these days, but nobody ever watches update videos, so I don't even know if it's worth it. But I've just been in a very like mentally stuck rut, not being able to really get motivated to do anything. And it sucks too, because I have all these ideas for like videos I want to do, but I have no energy to do it. And I finally forced myself to do it today, and it feels so good to be back and to do this. I need to get back into this, especially since I'm so close to 3K, guys. I cannot wait. I was hoping to do something today for it, which is Monday the 5th, but I ended up being too busy too, and I got to get ready for work. So, no special things today going on for that. But, however, do please rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out my future videos whenever they come out, and check out my past ones. Check out my other channels too down below. My Chaotic channel, which I really need to get a video made for it. I have several ideas, just need to sit down and make them. And then check out my other channel too, where I talk about anime and manga and video games and stuff. That is Low Tier Life, that is my second channel, and then my Chaotic channel is Low Tier for Life Chaotic. Thank all guys for everything. It's been great, and I am gonna hopefully get back into this. I really feel good about doing this again. Thank y'all. Have a great day. Rate, comment, and subscribe. See y'all later. Peace out, and goodbye. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider rating, commenting, and subscribing. Sharing the video helps as well. If you especially really like it, please do consider being a channel member. Every little bit helps out. And hey, also why not check me out on my other social media pages. Thank you, and have a great day.